Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Danganronpa. So we're in the middle of the class trial for chapter 4, or case 4. It's kind of funny, I guess they used both words. Um, it looked like it was going to be Yashihiro that killed Sakura because he hit her in the head with the bottle. But now it seems like Toko also hit her in the head with a bottle. And frankly, neither one of those hits seem to explain why someone would be bleeding from the mouth instead of just vomiting from the mouth. So it looks like Sakura was actually poisoned, but we haven't even gotten to that point. So the queen is missing.
So we only have evidence for 5 bottles at the scene. Well, one apparently went missing.
What does chess have to do with anything?
Yeah, this whole case is going to be super long just because we're going to have to eliminate each of the 3 suspects between Toko, Yashihiro, and Byakuya until we figure out who really did it. Shogi is the Japanese chess, and this does just highlight again that they are Japanese high school students, or at least something close to Japanese high school students, so they would know the Japanese chess shogi way more than they would know the Western chess.
Yeah. Wait, no, that's not what I mean. So, let's say a bottle did go missing.
It does seem like Toko, not Genocide Jill / Jack, hit Sakura in the head, though, so the timeline on that even is a little weird, though, because we know in the morning when we woke up that Genocide Jack was trying to stab Aoi, but Genocide Jack came out after Toko had been pushed and they knocked over some salt and she sneezed, so at some point near midnight or noon. Yeah, I don't even know when the murder really happened. Like, I probably could go back and see if we have a truth bullet for that. Let's see what this says. 12 noon. Alright, so we know Genocide Jill was running around probably somewhere after they stabbed Aoi. So after that event would have been had to have been the time that either Toko or Genocide Jill would have met with Sakura.
There's still no evidence that has anything to do with this case.
Of course, this is all voiced, and at this level, we almost, for chapter 4, have half of the dialogue is voiced because so much of it, I think, is going to be in the case, and there really was very little that happened before the case and then the investigation.
That bottle could have disappeared any time before the murder.
No. It's clear that the missing bottle is connected to this case.
How is it clear?
Think about what state the missing bottle must have been in. Maybe then you'll understand.
There is an argument that could have been made had they not weighed the bottles to see that there was enough glass for 2 bottles. There's an argument that somebody may have been able to hit Sakura with something else besides the bottle and then stolen the bottle to create confusion, or hit her in the head with the bottle and not broken the bottle and then just wandered off with it and hit it somewhere. It was broken is what they're asking us
The bottle must have been broken.
to say. That's kind of an assumption.
What makes you so sure?
The only reason why we know is because we weighed.
Because there was evidence at the scene that supports it.
Huh?
That's right. We found evidence that shows there was more than just one broken bottle at the scene.
If you could just play this game and let the dialogue play
This is evidence.
along and not really have to pay attention at all. As a Westerner who's struggling to play visual novels, I would enjoy it probably better. But at that point, you're barely paying any attention to the game at all, and there's barely any game at all, so I can't really complain too much that I have to hit A. I could put it in auto mode, But if I did put it in auto mode, I then wouldn't be able to pay attention, and then I'd mess up when it challenged me to check if I was paying attention. I also wish we could kind of control the camera a little bit more and be able to spin around and look at all the pictures, since we haven't seen a lot of these characters in a very long time. It wasn't just a single broken bottle, and the evidence that proves that is, Kyoko and I figured it out. We need the experiments. I assume. Monokuma bottle experiment. Should be the right thing.
Earlier, Kyoko and I did a little experiment.
Now we should be fine as long as we don't end up doing
The weight of the broken
one or
bottle
two more
to
rhythm
one
games.
of the unbroken bottles.
I could probably struggle through one rhythm game. Although I guess if you fail and you game over,
And what we found was
it
that
doesn't
the
matter
collection of
anyways.
pieces was heavier. And the reason for that is there was actually more than one bottle's worth of shattered glass.
So from this, we can surmise that 2 bottles were actually broken at the scene of the crime.
Yeah, linchpin piece of evidence.
Someone did their best to clean up the pieces of one of the bottles, along with the figure inside.
So they did their best, but not quite good enough.
When they did, they must have left behind a few too many pieces. Which is only natural. They certainly had no way to measure the exact right number of pieces to remove.
But why would they have to try and get rid of it like that anyway?
Because Toko hit her a second time, and there already was one broken bottle.
Because of what it would reveal about the case.
There can be no doubt that a second missing Monokuma bottle was involved in the case. It must have been used by Sakura's second attempt.
I got it!
So now I'm back
That
to
was
full
removed
health.
From the scene was used the second time Sakura was attacked.
The second wound on Sakura's head came from that second bottle. Given all the evidence, this is the only possible...
The weirdness of using the word second, though, pretty much implies that.
The killer wanted to make it look like there was only one attack, so they had to get rid of their evidence.
I guess if they had just done a slightly more ambitious job of it, we would have never found that out.
From there, we can conclude that it wasn't Hiro who delivered that second blow. Wouldn't you agree, Toko?
Here we have our crazy-eyed hair pulling effect.
And there's the matter of the magazine.
And certainly when you see a scene
must
like
have
that,
been in
you
the
know
rec
that
room when the incident
that's where they
took place.
wanted to first use that animation, and then they started using it in a lot of other places just to be able to recycle as much as possible. So yeah, and she put back the magazine.
Maybe there was a second attack, but there's no evidence I had anything to do with it.
No way! You killed her! I'm sure of it!
Byakuya would not unframe Toko.
Shut up! Until
It would be
2
too
seconds ago,
interesting.
You were claiming you killed her.
It would be boring in that case.
I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. That's just the kind of guy I am. Plus, I just remembered something that proves it.
Okay, fine. Let's hear it.
Byakuya has been incredibly silent in this case,
Right after I got Ogre's note.
probably because he's he's a real suspect this
I
time.
was kind of nervous about it, so I went to the rec room early. You know, to stake it out or whatever. So I was waiting there, and that's when I saw her. I saw Toko go into the rec room.
You did?
Pretty soon, Ogre showed up, and she went into the rec room. I assumed Toko was still in there, so I figured everything would be okay. That's why I headed in.
So he saw her go in from the outside of the rec room.
But when I got inside, Ogre was all alone. Toko had disappeared.
And you just now decided to share that with us?
Yep. Yashahiro really not making a good case for himself
After the
by
shock of
withholding
thinking I killed
evidence.
someone, I forgot all about it.
Could someone tighten the screws on his brain? I think they've come loose.
So, Toko, where the heck did you disappear to?
You don't know what you're talking about. I never went in the rec room.
I'm sure she didn't disappear, but maybe she found somewhere to hide.
Hiding in the rec room? Don't be ridiculous.
So now there's a big revelation, and where we get a music change.
Why are you all ganging up on me? You're all nothing but vermin.
No, it's not at all. It's not ridiculous at all. You know, one thing that is ridiculous is the idea that we're seeing these pictures of people who have died being happy and friends with each other. And I guess that is true in a lot of anime series. If you look at like the Bleach anime in particular, there is a massive collection of friends of the main character that are all unique and different enough that you would think that they really wouldn't hang out with each other at all. But it is pretty crazy to think that Toko and Aoi and Yashihiro and Hifumi all would be friends in any scenario, because they are intentionally created to be just diametrically opposed personalities who would really never hang out with each other. Like Makoto and Taka were great examples of that, and then it was really silly for them to become friends. It's not ridiculous at all. I need some proof that shows Toko was hiding in the rec room, and I have it. She left that there for anyone to find. New element has been added to the bullet time battles. It's kind of crazy they're still adding content here. Would you like to hear more? Absolutely. Otherwise, I have no idea what it is. So far, you've probably been pressing the Y button during your final strike without a second thought. But from now on, you're going to have to pay a little extra attention to your finishing blow. Interesting. Now you have to choose the proper truth bullet to use during your coup de grace. You'll select it the same way as during the non-stop debate. Simply press the left bump. Also, like in the debate, if your logic difficulty is set to kind, you'll have fewer bullets to choose from. But for educational purposes, we're going to pretend you're set to mean regardless. Just this once, okay? Oh, and by the way, you're about halfway through the game now. Go you. Wow. Halfway through the game? Halfway through the game? Wow, I thought we were closer to 3/4 through the game. Wow, that is a kick in the nards, if anything. That is just really goes to show how long these visual novels can go. Well then, good luck and have fun. And that pretty much implies that if they're halfway through the game, then we're also halfway through them adding more gameplay mechanics.
It's a lie.
We've got another one of these rhythm games.
I admit nothing. I curse you. I
One.
curse you. It's a lie.
My rhythm is just terrible.
That's enough.
Tempo up.
It's a lie. I admit nothing. I hate you. I curse you.
Like, just
No, no, no. That's enough.
alright.
That's enough.
This should prove it.
So you have to choose in the rhythm game the right thing.
Did you know someone left a handprint behind
That's
on the
still
inside of
pretty
the locker?
bad, but not as bad as it could have been. I also feel like those rhythm games aren't always voice acted, and that probably would have been more helpful, because that is a scenario specifically where you need to be watching the rhythm bar if you can't hear the beat or just have no rhythm, like me.
They must have been hiding in there and put their hand on the wall without thinking. Does this handprint look familiar, Toko?
Like, how are they gonna really be able to compare the two?
No, it doesn't. Okay then, let's just compare it to your hand, shall we? That'll clear everything up, right?
Well, Kyoko wears gloves all the time, but Byakuya and Toshihiro and Aoi all have bare hands too.
Stop wasting my time. Just tell us the truth.
Okay, it's my handprint.
Dang, she just straight up admitted it.
Then you killed Sakura!
Now Aoi is just back to, yeah, you killed Sakura. She wants to blame somebody for sure.
No way!
Out with it.
I probably did kill her.
This is funny because it's just like Toko is so dominated and so wants to be dominated by Byakuya. She'll just answer his inquiries honestly.
Straight up again.
Wait, what do you mean probably?
Give us the details, Toko. What happened between you and Sakura?
Talk. Now.
It's like she'll only respond to Byakuya.
After I read Sakura's note, I decided to go there early, so I went into the rec room. I didn't know what she might do if I didn't go, but I was too scared to face her head on. So I figured I'd just sneak in first and hide in the locker.
Then, did you see what happened? Did you see me hit her?
Yes, and I saw you write my name. I saw you forge her dying message.
Well, that's awkward.
To say the least.
So after he left, I jumped out of the locker and put the magazine back on the shelf.
But when you did, you put it back upside down.
Is that important to add?
I didn't mean to. I was in a hurry.
Imbeciles, all of you.
Forget all that. Why did you attack Sakura? After I put the magazine back, I heard a sound behind me like a monster growling. And when I turned around, there was Sakura covered in blood and staring right at me.
And
When
maybe
I
she was
saw
concussed.
that blood, I fainted right there in front of the magazines. I don't remember what happened after that. If you want to know more, you'll have to ask her.
So she fainted after seeing the blood on Sakura. Her, you mean? And then she just sneezes.
Guess who's back?
Now we have to deal with Genocide Jill.
It was your fault after all.
My fault, Master's fault. When our faults combine, they soar to even greater heights.
Just answer the question. Did you kill Sakura?
Well, to be honest, Miss Morose and me don't actually share our memories.
Interesting that she calls Toko Miss Morose. That's kind of a big word for dark. I don't know what a good definition of the word morose is. Dark, down, and depressing.
So I can't really say what was going on. But I was just minding my own business, sleeping peacefully when someone shook me awake. Was it a prince paying me a visit? I wondered. So I opened my eyes to see. Splatter everywhere! I was not prepared for that. And, well, I guess it took me by surprise. I got so startled, I smacked her with the first thing I could find, which I guess was a bottle. Sakura was just worried about you, and you're terrible. No, she's terrible. Thanks to her, I murdered someone who wasn't an adorable boy for the first time ever.
So Genocide Jill is upset that she broke her method of operating and murder.
And when it was all over, you collected the pieces of the bottle to get rid of the evidence, didn't you?
I wasn't about to die for some woman. If I'm gonna go down, I want it to be for killing Master.
Just go away and die your meaningless death alone. Don't drag me into it.
But I just can't catch a break, you know? Fate's got it out for me. Because normally, Sakura should have been able to dodge my attack, no problem.
Even as strong as she is, she must have still been reeling from Hiro's attack.
Hey, come on. That's, you know. But anyway, I'm not the one that killed Ogre. So that's good.
So that's good. Keep talking like that, and Hina's gonna.
Well then, that's that. Let's start the vote.
Well, I thought for sure you'd have some words for Hiro on that one.
What's wrong? Come on, everyone, we're ready to vote, right? Let's do this.
Now Aoi is looking all suspicious.
No, not quite yet.
Was Byakuya gonna add?
Huh? Not yet? Why not yet?
Don't you think there was something odd about Toko's story? I mean, you had to have noticed.
Odd. Huh?
Hiro's attack, and then Toko's, but that still wasn't the end of it.
It wasn't?
Tell us your story one more time. Tell us what happened after you fainted.
Do we really need to repeat it? Or could they just have had, like, Genocide Jill tell the story in its completeness the first time through?
Then even this gaggle of idiots should understand what I'm talking about.
You wish is my command, darling.
Oh, I didn't know Genocide Jill actually liked Byakuya. I guess she kinda does now. It's not over yet, is it? The one who killed Sakura is. Make your argument. Alright, we have yellow powder with status of Sakura's body in the Kyoko examination.
I was just sleeping
Samurai.
peacefully, and all of a sudden Sakura was right there in front of me. I remember waking up right in front of the magazine shelf.
Are we gonna have any?
Surprised when you saw Ogre covered in blood. So you smashed her head in with the Monokuma bottle?
We may even have to suck.
Smashed her good.
We may even have to suck something in. Where did my health go down?
Right where I was.
Must have been in rhythm.
I killed her there in front of the shelf.
That's it. So it's in front of the shelf that we have to. If the second shot from Toko is what killed Sakura, then the problem is, where did Sakura die? It was.
I was just sleeping peacefully, and all of a sudden Sakura was right there in front of me. I remember waking up right in front of the magazine
So we're just gonna have to
shelf.
be careful once again to fire early.
Surprised when you saw Ogre covered in blood. So you smashed her head in with the Monokuma bottle?
You got it. I smashed her good.
And where did the attack take place?
Right where I woke up. I killed her there in front of the shelf. No, it's wrong.
So that there was no sucking in that case. It was just
We found Sakura sitting
getting the
upright
shot
in
through.
chair. If the blow by the shelf was the cause of death, there's no explanation why she was in that chair.
So, you finally noticed.
Although there is a bit of a question as to why is all the glass by the chair? Did they sweep all the broken glass to the chair also?
That's just another lie from a bloodthirsty serial killer.
Are you sure you didn't attack her while she was sitting in the chair?
No, I'm sure she's telling the truth. Anyone who saw the murder scene should think the same way.
That has to be it. The evidence that proves there was an attack in front of the magazine shelf would be the magazine shelf bloodstain.
I got it! Sakura was definitely attacked in front of the shelf.
But we're barely getting health back
The
at this
bloodstain
point.
by the magazines is proof of that.
But it also feels like there should have been glass in front of the shelf.
And she must have moved the body after she killed her, right? All to make it look like I did it. Because when I hit her, she was sitting in the chair.
It's fairly questionable whether Toko could move Sakura's body, but she did seem to be capable of superhuman strength in all of her other murders of stabbing scissors through walls and crucifying men of many ages, many years older than her.
Hey, come on now, look at me. I can't carry anything heavier than my own scissors.
That was questionable.
There's no way I could move a muscle-bound heavyweight like that.
Then what's the deal?
Well, are you still convinced the case has come to an end?
So now we've eliminated 2 of the 3 suspects.
Plus, the biggest mystery of all, the locked room, still has yet to be explained.
That is definitely true.
Until we take care of that, we can't say this case has been properly settled.
Yeah, they haven't even discussed like how either of those people would have even explained the room being locked.
Oh, that part's easy. After she killed Sakura, Toko just hid in the locker again.
Oh, so she just hid in there till everyone showed up and opened the door? And while everything was all confused and hectic, she just snuck out of the locker into the group.
Nope.
No, I don't think that's possible.
Reason she wasn't hiding in the locker was because we looked in the locker. I saw it for myself.
Even
Of course,
before we open the door to the
she could have been hiding under the
Tina
pool
and I both
table
gotta look inside.
or somewhere else in the room.
And at that point, the locker was already open. So obviously Toko couldn't have been hiding in there.
This is a strange angle.
Okay, then, where was she hiding?
Just it's weird that they don't experiment with that more, frankly.
I don't know. What's this whole locked room thing about anyway?
How do you not know? You killed her!
I think the fact that I don't know proves I didn't kill her. Thank you very much. You're lying.
No, she's not. I've been saying all along, there's still more to this case.
But if Genocide Jill didn't do it, that means Ogre didn't die from the shot to the head.
And
Well, I can't imagine what else could have killed her.
that's because you're overlooking vital information.
Yep. Kind of completely pointless information, too. Could we really be missing something so important? Is there another possible explanation? Maybe it's... It's Monokuma file 4. Yellow powder. Oh, he's a count.
What was it that killed Ogre? If it wasn't from Genocide Jill's attack, then what was it?
Let's see. Oh, he's a count.
There's no other possible cause. What killed Sakura? I can't think of anything other than the shot to her head.
Let's try the yellow powder. Come on, Makoto, don't climb up now. Well, I could easily lose here if I'm not careful.
What was it that killed Ogre? If it wasn't from Genocide Jill's attack, then what was it?
There's no other possible cause. What killed Sakura? I can't think of anything other than the shot to her head. So you're dead set on blaming me, huh?
So it's gotta be always a count. If there's one place I might find a clue, it would have to be written in there.
What was it that killed
Well,
Ogre?
then this has to be the Monokuma file.
Wasn't from Genocide Jill's attack. Then what was it?
Wow, I have like 3 minutes left.
There's no other possible cause. What
And-
killed Sakura?
It does seem
I
like
can't think of anything other.
we are just
No, that's wrong.
constantly getting shorter and shorter amounts of time. And it's not getting
According to
refilled.
the Monokuma file,
So
Sakura had vomited
there might
blood.
be a scenario here where even if I fail because I run out of time, I may just straight up fail and it may throw me back to the entire beginning of the case. And even trying to skip things and fast forward through things, it still could take a good 10-20 minutes to get back to this point if you actually can run completely out of time. One would hope that they would reset you to like 5 minutes minimum, if not more, if you failed.
I think we can assume there's a chance this was related to her cause of death. In fact, there was even a trace of blood left around her mouth.
So when she vomited blood, was that the blood that was near the magazine rack instead of blood from her head? Maybe.
Well, I mean, maybe when she got hit with the bottles, she cut the inside of her mouth.
That's a
If
possibility.
that's all it was, the file wouldn't have specified vomited blood.
Yeah, they're making an assumption there.
Not to mention, I didn't find any cuts inside her mouth.
You even checked in there? God, bodies.
No, I'm not into dead bodies. What I'm into is solving mysteries.
But if there wasn't a cut or anything, then what made her vomit blood?
Some sort of reaction within her body. Most likely, Sakura was poisoned.
So now it comes down to could it be Byakuya or Aoi or Kyoko who poisoned her? Or is it Yasuhiro or Toko or who actually poisoned her and they've wrapped a lie within a lie?
Poisoned?
That's right. This is the conclusion I've arrived at, and so there can be no mistake.
It definitely feels like if Celeste was still here or Chihiro was here or even like Taka, that this would be probably a better written conversation with one more intelligent person or at least more energetic person in the storyline, and it kind of highlights a problem with the way cases may go in the future. Is if there really is only 4 people left in the last case, it's going to be probably 3 boring people and 1 interesting person talking. And Makoto, the character you're playing as, is not going to be one of the interesting people.
She was poisoned? It isn't possible.
Is it really so hard to believe? Then let me explain exactly how the culprit was able to poison her.
Now we are doing this angle more. I imagine with the way these barriers work, even if there was a character that had a skirt on, I don't know if any of the characters really had much of a skirt anyways, like Chihiro may have had one. It's still, the barriers are just in that prime position where you wouldn't have gotten an upskirt shot for what is an angle that is close to an upskirt shot. Anyways.
Explain it?
Of course, if you don't mind.
But I don't know why they're doing the upshot anyways. If anything, I feel like you should be doing a downward shot as if you are a god looking down on the lowly, pitiful humans, pitying them and judging them more than you would want to do an upshot to give the impression that you are a lowly creature beneath each of the characters in this story, and thus you're looking up to them and envying them, or that they are like moral authorities. And that may be putting a lot of thought into what kind of shot you would stage in a animated presentation, but that's the kind of stuff you kind of should think about. There is some philosophy that you can put in your artistic design if you wish to do it. A lot of people don't.
Everyone quiet! Shut up and listen to Master!
See, and that could certainly get very interesting or irritating if just like Jill starts just yelling at everybody to listen to Byakuya.
You're the only one talking.
The key to unlocking this mystery was hiding in the chem lab up on the 4th floor.
There's an interesting point here where the sign for Celeste is much taller at this angle than it is for Chihiro on either side of Byakuya. That seems awkward. And they clearly rotate, otherwise you wouldn't be seeing this signs head on, but that's true for all the flat 2D objects in this game.
Huh? Not in the rec room? Then I could have found it all along.
You never would have, since you gave up on the search the moment you were barred from the crime scene.
Well, yeah, good point.
There's a big shelving unit in the chem lab that houses a variety of mixtures and chemicals. And that's where I found this.
So we have the chemical C9. Wasn't it chemical C4 before? I feel like they reanimated it and put a different number on it.
Is that the poison?
Or maybe C4 was the broken bottle that was spilled on the ground.
It's not an especially powerful poison, but it'll still kill you if you drink an entire bottle. But the specific properties don't matter. What does matter is where I found it.
What's funny here is if Monokuma wanted you to be able to poison people, why would he give weaker poisons instead of stronger ones?
Where'd you find it?
The shelf is divided up into 3 sections, A, B, and C. In section A, dietary supplements. In B, reagents. And in C, a variety of lethal chemicals.
And that's where the poison came from? Section C?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
The bottle of poison Byakuya just showed us. I'm sure I know where he got it. It was on the same shelf as the supplements, section A. We're just trying to do this as fast as possible.
Wasn't it?
That way we don't run out of time.
You just said that Section A was for supplements or whatever.
Strange, isn't it? Why would there be a bottle of poison mixed in with all those nutritional additives?
Yeah, so? Why?
Because the culprit switched it out. That's why.
What do you mean?
I mean, this.
I couldn't believe my eyes. Byakuya put the bottle of poison to his lips and... We were so shocked at what we were seeing, all we could do is stand there and watch. But as if it were the most natural thing in the world, Byakuya was as calm as ever.
That tastes awful.
That tastes awful.
Oh no! Master's in real trouble! You have to drink some water! You can't just swallow powder! It'll stick to your throat!
Idiot! He just swallowed poison! We need to make him spit it out!
The flavor certainly makes me want to spit it out. What's so high quality about this stuff?
What are you talking about?
But if somebody swapped it out, how can you be certain they did a perfect job of cleaning the bottle before that point? Like, you may still be poisoning yourself with a small amount. He's taking a lot of risks.
I'm talking about the protein, of course.
Protein?
Can I see that bottle for a second?
Sure. Do whatever you like.
So somebody put the protein, which looks like yellow dust. Kyoko took the bottle from Byakuya and scraped out a bit of its contents with one finger. She touched her finger to her tongue.
It's protein powder.
Huh?
Correct. That wasn't poison in the bottle, but harmless protein powder. Which makes one wonder, the poison that should have been in that bottle, where did it go?
But the poison was actually filled with protein powder, which means poison must have been in, could it be? So it was in the protein thing. So we need an R. And then we need a T. And then we need an I. Nope. An E. And then an N. And then a D. So you could really screw up here. And then an I. Then an N. Protein drink.
Now I understand.
I have like 5 minutes left, and I took like 1 or 2 hits there.
Must have been poured into the protein can. If the protein's in the poison bottle, it seems only logical to assume the reverse is true, right?
How do you even pull that off without having a third container, like the protein shaker, available to you at the time?
Absolutely.
I guess you could use pretty much any
Contents of each were
container.
switched.
Or you could have just switched the labels.
So the protein was in the bottle of poison, and the poison was in the protein can.
Which, honestly, I don't know why you would want to trust either one of them. Just the fact that the protein is so close to poison makes it suspect in a scenario like this.
Once you accept that, it becomes obvious how the culprit was able to get Sakura to drink the poison.
Holy crap!
All they had to do was hand her something there at the scene, and she was happy to drink the poison herself.
A cup filled with a water, a protein drink.
I got it! You're saying they gave her a protein drink, right?
A protein drink which actually contained a deadly poison.
What?
Which at a certain point, why not put protein and poison in the drink and then mask the flavor a little bit so that they actually, Sakura would drink it all?
That's all it took to kill Sakura. That is the true cause of death.
Yeah, it took us probably 2.5 hours to get to this point.
No? I do remember Ogre saying that protein stuff was good for all kinds of aches and pains.
Yeah, so does everybody else.
So maybe she took it to try and help with the whole bleeding head wound thing.
Yashihiro's still an idiot.
But what was offered to her instead was a bottle full of poison. And I already know exactly who swapped the mixtures.
For real? Who was it?
Evidence revealing who replaced the two materials was left in the chem lab for anyone to see.
The evidence that shows who switched them, it must be what we found in front of the shelf, which was the footsteps. Let's see, footprints and powder. So we have like 5 minutes.
The footprints left behind in front of the shelf.
But the only person we've seen that even has powder on their shoes, or that we've even seen their shoes at all, was Sakura herself.
That's the evidence you're talking about, isn't it?
I visited the chem lab this morning, and there were definitely no footprints there at that point. They must have appeared around the time of the murder, which leaves no
I
doubt
wouldn't
that
be
they're
surprised if Yashihiro is wearing like traditional Japanese sandals that are made out of wood, the wood blocks. But that really wouldn't eliminate probably Toko or Byakuya or Kyoko or Makoto. And it would be really funny if it turned out Makoto was the killer and we just had an unreliable narrator, or Aoi either.
What's more, the footprints were in front of Section A, where I found the bottle meant for the poison. The culprit must have gone to Section A to swap the poison and protein, leaving their footprints behind.
After they spilled the bottle from Section C?
And given how clear the prints were, figuring out who they belong to will pose no problem. All we have to do is check everyone's footprints right now. Then we'll see who...
He just gets stopped.
It was me. ...
Question mark. Again, weird to have a question mark here. Like, we know the voice actors. We know that was Aoi.
The footprints. They're mine.
Hina?
And again, we're jumping between her being called Aoi, her family name, or the nickname for Asahina, Hina.
If you're all gonna find out anyway, I'd rather you hear it straight from me, you know?
Then Ogre's killer was...
Yep, I did it. I killed Sakura.
So now we are on to our third confession in this case. It's getting really ridiculous. Like, is case 5 just going to be that everybody confesses to killing somebody?
Just as I suspected.
And that's apparently what Byakuya suspected.
The footprints were made by a pair of sneakers. There was no mistaking it. And the only people here who wear sneakers are...
Would be Hina and Sakura. Well, I guess it has to be Makoto and Hina.
Me and Hina are the only ones. Oh, so Byakuya. That explains why you...
He looked at your shoes. Oh, he did ask if they were yours? No. Okay, let me see your shoes and I'll confirm their size for myself.
footprints didn't belong to Makoto, that left only one other possibility.
I kind of forgot that Makoto was a character we were even playing. It should have just said me and Hina.
Plus, Hina's been acting strange ever since the trial began. You were in an awful rush to get to the vote, weren't you? This whole time, you've been focused on pinning the crime on someone else, haven't you? ...
I can't believe it.
What about it can't you believe?
Well, it's just the two of them were so close.
That's likely exactly why it turned out this way. Because they were so close, Sakura didn't think twice about it when Hina handed her the concoction.
In a lot of ways, this is playing out very much in the way that Sayaka, the pop star, was going to try and betray Makoto after pretending to get close to him, or pretending to be close to him, or actually being close to him, depending on how you want to really interpret her actions.
Hina used that trust to kill her. She deceived the victim, and she tried to deceive all of us. I have to say, Hina, coming from you, this was a particularly nasty little scheme.
Yeah, now when you look at this far zoom out shot, you're seeing Chihiro very low and Celeste higher, and then Leon on the side even higher. It's almost as if they set the height of each of the memorial pictures of the characters to the height of the characters themselves, which maybe there is some artistic reason why you would do that. That way you could just assume that would be the eye line of the characters, or that would be where they would be standing, and the part of the background that would be blocked always. But it does come off very weird that they're not just all at the same height. If you got philosophical about it, you could also say you'd want them to be at the same height to say that everyone is equal in death. Instead, it's implying kind of the exact opposite. ... Hina, is it true?
Kill Sakura? And if you did, why? Why would you do that?
She's
I
not
found
even
her.
saying.
There in the rec room. She was hurt. She asked me to bring her that protein drink. But when I went to get the powder from the chem lab, it just occurred to me all of a sudden.
Interesting.
Now's my chance to kill her. That's what you thought, right? That's when you switched out the protein powder, and that's when you gave her the poisoned mixture.
And then she downed it all at once.
In a weird way, this would be almost giving Sakura what she wanted if Hina had gotten away with it, because I imagine Sakura would have wanted Hina to survive if she had to pick, but I think Sakura had a different idea, certainly, that would have saved everybody.
And then
This is hard to believe, though, but you can definitely feel it's fairly obvious they wanted you to get emotionally attached to Hina in this entire chapter, so this reveal feels much more like a backstab.
Hold it.
Alright, now Kyoko.
I'm not convinced.
You're not about to claim she wouldn't kill a close friend, are you? You still don't get it, do you? The game we're playing here isn't so kind. Honey, words like friendship don't matter here. What matters is outwitting the opponent, defeating them. Not a person alive would sacrifice themselves for another. In the end, we're all in it for ourselves.
Is that true?
Just like how this girl sacrificed Sakura to save herself.
You say that, but I'm still not convinced.
How many times do you plan to repeat yourself?
Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying it because of some misguided sentimentalism. But there's still that one unsolved mystery, and I'm not convinced.
At this point, it feels like Kyoko's just obsessed with the locked room problem, which is still an issue. Like, how did Sakura lock the room and leave?
Are you talking about the locked room problem?
Hina, if you really are the killer, explain it. How did you create that locked room?
Well, that doesn't matter. Just because I'm guilty, that means I have to tell you everything?
So, yeah, she can't explain it.
No, it doesn't. But the fact that you won't tell us concerns me.
Surely you're not. Do you honestly think Hina didn't actually kill her?
And if I do?
Impossible. She switched out the mixtures. She's the culprit. There's no way you can doubt this.
As far as I can tell in this game, they really didn't explain the rules of voting that well, but it seems like it is just a majority vote, so at a certain point, if Byakuya voted that it was Hina and Kyoko voted it was someone else, that there could just be a majority vote that outranks Byakuya or outranks Kyoko anyways.
Are you sure about that? Even ignoring the fact that I don't want to believe it, it just doesn't fit.
What doesn't fit?
I mean, why would someone leave such a clear clue like a footprint?
Yeah, that is a good question.
It's too obvious, too easy.
And that's the thing Byakuya hated.
He's right. It makes it look like you wanted people to suspect you.
I was just nervous. So, I didn't notice I'd left a footprint.
A footprint? She left dozen.
You didn't notice?
Yeah, that's just how it was. What can I do?
Listen, Hina. Could you go into a bit more detail? Tell us more about when you switched the poison and the protein.
How come? That doesn't matter.
Hina, please, I'd like to know too.
Makoto poses like that far too often. It's a weird pose.
Fine.
Waste your time if you like. It's clear that Hina is the culprit.
Now I'm starting to suspect it's Byakuya again.
There's nobody else to suspect. Nobody else could have possibly done it.
Go ahead, Hina. Start from the moment you arrived at the chem lab.
Well, right away I went to section C and got the poison.
And is that when you spilled the powder in front of that part of the shelf?
Yeah. When I opened the bottle, I dropped it like an idiot.
I see. Okay then, go on.
So then I moved to section A and got the protein powder, and that's where I switched them. Once I was done with that, I took the protein can that had the poison in it and left the room. But I accidentally put the bottle filled with protein powder back on the wrong shelf.
Like, so far that all seems believable.
And because of that, everything I did got found out. And that's it.
That story you just told. First you went to section C to get the poison. Then moved to section A to get the protein, right? Meaning you went from section C to section A. Do I have that correct?
Yeah.
But if that's true, isn't it a little strange that she would have managed to drop the bottle and somehow been on the other side of the spilled poison?
Can you repeat that series of events one more time?
Do we really need to repeat
What's wrong
things?
with you, Big Mac? You're being awfully pushy.
It's the same thing no matter how many times you hear it. How long until you're satisfied?
How long? Until we figure it out. Until I uncover the full truth of this case. What's funny is he's not saying any of that out loud. But they just want you to repeat it because they want to make it a game. Source of the powder, I guess, would probably be our right bullet.
First I went to section C. That's when I grabbed the poison.
There's the text is over on top of other text even now. I have 11 minutes now.
When I grabbed the bottle, I dropped it.
Okay, and then?
I moved from section C to section A. And that's where I switched the powders. Once I was done switching them, I put the bottle filled with the protein powder back in section A. Then I took the bottle with the poison in it.
I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
That's all there is to it.
Honestly, that's enough. How much longer must we tolerate this?
Let's just go through it. In the Kim Lam, where were the footprints? What direction were they facing? Those facts clearly contradict what Hina just told us.
First I went to section C.
Okay.
That's when I grabbed the poison.
So, if that's the case, let's try that.
Powder on the ground in front of the shelf.
Did I just miss, or was that wrong? Yeah, I guess I just missed.
Okay, and then?
I moved from section C to section...
I guess that's what I was supposed to hit. I'm very iffy on a lot of these guesses.
Poison from section C, and that's where you spilled the powder, right?
Yeah? What about it?
And after that, you said you moved from section C to section A to get the protein. But the footprints left at the scene were not moving from section C to section A.
You would have to walk. You would have had to spill the powder where you were closer to the desk than the shelves, then walked around, and then walked directly to section A, which kind of implies you would have had to known that you'd spilled the powder and that you were going to leave footprints, and then chose to not leave footprints to collaborate the story you're telling now.
That contradicts what you just said.
Then maybe she moved in some weird direction on purpose to disguise her movements?
Why?
No, that can't be it. Remember what Hina just said?
I was just nervous, so I didn't notice I'd left a footprint.
What the? Hina, what's the meaning of this?
Well...
Now Byakuya is upset that he wasn't right.
You lied to us. Plain and simple. If you look at the footprints, your movements in the chem lab are obvious. The powder had already been spilled when you came in, and you went straight to section A. So you never went to section C. Whatever you did there, it only involved section A.
Well... You see...
And I suppose on the shelves it would be very easy for things to be missing, even though they were numbered. It would have been better if they weren't numbered for that scenario, but it could be that somebody took a poison and another person took a poison. And then we had a full spin with no real reaction with Asahina to justify that full spin. ...
What the?
And Byakuya is freaking out more than anything.
Hell? What's going on here?
He's apparently just realizing he nearly got himself killed.
And the footprints aren't the only problem with her account. Before I explain that part, I'd like to submit some new evidence.
New evidence.
Evidence? Impossible, there can't be.
Now it does seem like Byakuya did it.
After all, you're the one that gave it to me.
I did?
It was hidden inside the bottle of poison you gave me. I'm amazed you, of all people, would miss such a vital clue. A truly grave oversight.
This would be kind of great if it was Byakuya.
Say it already! What is it you think you found?
I found this.
A piece of glass.
It had sunk to the bottom of the bottle.
Wow, so he nearly cut his throat open.
And the hidden clue was exposed, thanks to you ingesting the powder. I couldn't have solved the mystery without you. So, thank you for that.
But, what is it?
Oh, you still don't realize? Well then. Makoto, why don't you explain it?
Really? Gonna just toss it to the player character for no reason?
Huh? Me?
Dot dot dot.
If you really do know, explain the meaning of that shard of glass.
Shard of light blue glass found in the bottle of poison. I think I remember now. I broke something like that. The rec room window. You just want to go as fast as possible.
Part of the window from the rec room door, right?
The window?
Which means
The window we broke to get in was light blue,
the
just
poisons,
like that. So I think that must be it.
the poison in that bottle had to have been moved later, and the poison on the floor maybe was drunk earlier. So there was like two poisons.
You're right. It must be. Of course, that leads to another question. How did a shard of glass from the window get inside this bottle of poison?
What's so strange about that?
What's strange is that, according to what Hina told us,
Where was the bottle? Where was it? The bottle of poison should have been when I broke the rec room window. It should have been on the section A shelf.
I got it! The bottle of poison was left on the shelf in the chem lab. That is what you said, right, Hina?
And also that was the bottle of poison that Byakuya found on shelf A.
And yet, somehow a piece of glass from the rec room window made its way into the bottle.
Everything Hina told us was a lie?
Again, still not really sure if the yellow highlighting of words is just a highlighting of words or something else.
In reality, that bottle of poison most definitely found its way to the rec room.
Maybe the bottle of poison was drunken out of directly by Sakura, and then it was moved after the fact. It does kind of feel like Hina is lying and moving evidence, much like Byakuya did earlier, which honestly I feel like had they tied up and bound Byakuya after he changed the evidence around and incarcerated him, that might have been a harsh enough punishment to stop somebody else from thinking about doing the same, but maybe not, considering how this is a game of life and death.
It was there at least until the window got broken. In other words, when the locked room was unlocked. There's no other way to explain the presence of that glass in that bottle.
And then, once the room was opened, the bottle somehow got moved back to the shelf in the chem lab. Meanwhile, the protein can we found at the crime scene was planted there. That had to be after the locked room was opened. In other words, after Sakura died.
Wait, hold on. You're moving too fast.
And Byakuya is just like totally confused.
I'll grant you, the bottle of poison may well have been in the rec room when it was locked. But how can you say the protein can was put there after the room was unlocked? We already know she was given the protein can with the poison inside, right? That can wasn't there when she died. How did she get poisoned?
You're right. We do need to explain that.
There's a problem with listening to music that's like this when playing a game like this, is because it plays a lot of different sounds, and so I just heard some of the background music and thought that somebody was calling out for me outside of my house for a second there, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think that was real. You get a lot of just kind of random upbeat tempo music that can be interpreted as some other distance sound. That being said, there's definitely been some horror movies and horror games where they've literally had people whispering in the music and the background sounds to mess with you. Let's keep on going.
There's something I'd like to confirm with everyone here. It has to do with the protein can. After Sakura's body was discovered, did anyone move it or trip over it or anything like that?
This is a good question to ask.
What are you talking about? Is this some kind of loaded question?
Sorta.
Not at all. Just answer to the best of your ability.
Well, no, not that I remember.
Yeah, me either.
Not me.
Same here. Yeah, me either.
Well, what's funny here is that wouldn't have been Genocide Jill. That would have been Toko at that point. So, Genocide Jill saying same here is kind of weird.
Okay then, that settles it.
Or was it Genocide Jill that showed up when they went and got her? I'm fairly certain it was Toko.
That proves that the protein can found its way to the murder scene after the room was opened.
Oh, come on! How can you say that?
Byakuya is just flipping
How
out.
can you know what I don't know?
He is such a spoiled brat. The reason I can say that is because there's evidence. There's proof that someone brought the protein can to the rec room after it was opened. And let's see, source of power, empty protein drink, and Kim Lab's shelf. I'm fairly certain it's empty protein can drink.
There's not a doubt in my mind.
And this is probably the first time where
Until
the
locked room was
real
unlocked,
bullet
it absolutely
is
was
the
not in
default bullet for,
So you're saying
since they introduced multiple bullets.
someone planted it there after we got the door open?
We have like 3 minutes.
No, that's impossible. It had to have been in there the whole time. It had to be. It was in there.
We'll hit that because everything else was wrong.
You remember how there was broken glass scattered all around the room, right?
Really just in front of the door.
Of course. It came from the window you broke to get in. What about it?
Well, those pieces weren't just scattered around the protein can. We also found pieces underneath the can.
What?
And this proves it. It shows that the can must have been put down on the floor after the window was broken.
And that certainly was a lucky piece of evidence. Although I guess if you thought about all the cases, there's a decent chance that half the evidence would have been missing, and then you wouldn't have been able to solve the case.
So it had to be after we got into the room.
And unfortunately, in real court cases, it often is. There's basically no evidence or one piece of evidence that has to be used to convict somebody, whether they're guilty for real or not.
I see. So that's your explanation.
There is also something certainly to be said about how non-Japanese all of these characters are, in the sense that the Japanese, and a real average Japanese high school student would probably immediately confess or very quickly confess to murder and apologize for it. And there's probably a decent amount of real Japanese high school students who would confess even if they actually hadn't done it, just to not make waves. And you definitely would not want that kind of character in a story like this. You have to have them be much more bold and much more aggressive and assertive than a normal Japanese person would be.
Kyoko, earlier when you asked if anyone had moved the can or tripped over it,
If that were the case, that would explain the can being on top of the glass.
So you asked everyone about it to eliminate that possibility right out of the gate.
And that's made everything clear, hasn't it? As long as it was a locked room, it only contained the bottle of poison, and not the protein can.
What also, I suppose, nobody checked the protein shaker to see what was in it. So there could have been a glass bottle of poison in the actual protein can itself to hide that evidence, and there could have been any number of other things hidden inside the protein can since nobody opened it to look inside. That's probably not necessary that would have been shown, but it would have been nice.
But once the room was opened up, they were switched, and as a result, the protein can wound up in the rec room, and the bottle of poison returned to the chem lab.
Dot dot dot. And here you have Aoi's hair doing that wild sticking up skunk look.
If that's all true, then why did Sakura drink the poison? I thought we all agreed she was tricked into drinking it because of the protein can.
No, that's not why. The only explanation is she drank it from its original bottle, knowing exactly what it was.
And now they're just gonna spell it out correctly, directly here, that Sakura killed herself.
Precisely. She was alone in a locked room. All she had was the poison. What other possibility is there?
She had the poison, she had planned on poisoning herself at the beginning, and she wanted the 3 people who were least connected or cared about her to be witnesses to it. So she didn't want Makoto, Kyoko, and particularly Aoi to be in the room when she died, to save their emotions. And that way 3 out of the 6 people could also testify that she killed herself. And it would be hard to convince somebody to lie there, considering how everyone's life was up for grabs if they make the wrong call. Her plan was originally to just have them all bear witness. Instead, you have Yashihiro attack her with a bottle, and then Genocide Jill attack her with a bottle, and at that point she had to rush and kill herself, so as to save Yashihiro or Genocide Jill, depending on how Monokuma decided who was the actual blackened and who actually killed her at that point.
You're saying she drank it knowing what it was?
And I guess Byakuya was innocent once again. And that kind of makes sense too, being the ultimate affluent student. He may just be too high-strung and uppity to actually bother to murder anyone himself. He'd have somebody else do it for him.
Such a ridiculous fiction is...
Exactly what happened.
Dot dot
Then
dot.
tell us already. Sorry. Please, tell us.
And see, now he's being nice because he's totally confused.
Before we get to that, we need to clarify one other thing. We need to establish who exactly got the poison from the chem lab and took it to the rec room.
It was Hina, right? She took it and gave it to Ogre.
What do you think, Makoto?
Let's see, the one who got the poison from the chem lab and brought it into the rec room had to be Sakura.
I got it! I think it was Sakura herself.
Huh? So Sakura, who was apparently murdered, just poisoned herself?
Well, are you sure she was murdered? Do we always have class trials because someone was murdered, or do we have class trials because somebody killed somebody, including maybe themselves?
What are you talking about? There's no way!
On the contrary, we know for a fact she went to the chem lab, right to the section full of poisons.
How do we know?
You're lying!
Oh,
Stop
the
lying!
the powder on her shoe proves she was there.
Why would you lie like that?
We're gonna do a 3rd rhythm game? No, it's not a lie. Sakura definitely went to section C. Kyoko already shown me the evidence I need. I have to hit Hina with it. I have to make her accept it. I'm really glad I used the skills to improve this, but...
You're a liar! What are you saying? Wrong! You're wrong! I'm telling you, I did it! Stop talking! You're a liar!
And I'm trying
Wrong.
really hard
You're
here.
Wrong! Wrong! You're wrong! I hate you! You're a liar! What are you saying?
I'm just doing so bad.
You're wrong! I'm telling you, I did it! Stop talking!
A-Y-X. 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 I feel like there definitely should have been more success here. Right.
Do you
Yellow
have
powder.
any kind of proof, Sakura?
This should prove it.
I guess I could have waited until she did the full voice action there.
Hina,
It didn't
did
even
you
make
know
me
that
choose
Sakura's foot
there.
had a certain yellow powder stuck
But
to it?
once again, even with the assistance skills I have, that still goes really, really badly for me. To be halfway through the game, we may very well have a rage quit here where I'm just not capable of getting through the cases because of these rhythm games. I really would like to see just an ultimate ability that lets me skip them, or I can't miss, or I can't take damage in that one specific gameplay style. If that was the case, I'd be willing to use all of my points to that one specific ability. Moving on.
It did. The same yellow powder that had been spilled by the shelf in the chem lab. That powder was yellow, wasn't it?
Well, considering how
So the
blood is
powder we found on
bright
Sakura,
pink, you never really
what
know
else
about
could
the
it
colors
be
in
but
this
the
game.
powder from the chem lab?
Wait. So, what was that powder doing on Ogre's foot?
And it was only on her instep, right?
Sakura must have been standing right there where the powder was spilled. So the person who spilled the powder by the shelf wasn't Hina, but Sakura. And when Sakura dropped the bottle, she dropped it away from where she was actually standing.
Okay. So she was standing kind of close to the sea.
Which is how she was able to avoid getting it all over herself. But the powder still got scattered around, and some of it must have wound up on her instep.
As in the top of her shoe.
Is there any problem with my thinking?
But why did Sakura pay a visit to Section C in the first place? The only explanation is that she was looking for poison. After all, that's all that section contained.
No! It was me! The poison!
And see, at this point, it's fairly obvious Asahina is just trying to commit suicide and kill everybody else to punish the other people, or just kill herself, and she just doesn't care about anyone else.
Because I killed her!
This is funny. If you look at her hair, she has now like 3 strands sticking up, which I don't know why they would do a switch there.
No, you didn't kill her.
The one that killed Sakura, finally, an hour and 20 minutes into this specific episode. The connection between Sakura and the poison and the unsolved mystery of the locked room. There's only one way to explain it. Select someone. Interesting if you blamed yourself here. She killed herself. It would be interesting if you blamed the wrong person.
It was Sakura herself.
What?
The killer was Sakura?
Wait, so you're saying it was suicide?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it any more than I believe I can fly.
I can't believe it either. Or rather, I don't want to believe it. But when you really think about it, everything matches up. Sakura went and got the poison. She barricaded herself in a room, and she drank it. All so she could end her own life.
Interesting.
And that explains why we couldn't solve the mystery of the locked room.
This supposes a weird assumption that if you cannot solve a mystery of a locked room, it must be suicide always. Which, that's a weird assumption to make. Because of course, Monokuma forced her into the locked room, Byakuya created the locked room, and Secret Sakura wanted to create the locked room.
The locked room mystery was
I thought we
created
would have
by
been
Sakura.
done after we made the accusation.
I'm sure she locked herself in so nobody could stop her from doing what she did. She sat there, drank the poison, and breathed her last breath. And the empty bottle of poison rolled around the locked room until we came and opened it.
There is a question certainly here, though, as to why not just specifically have drunken the poison before noon and then had a locked room where both Byakuya and Toko and Yashahiro saw her in the locked room with the bottle of poison on the floor. Why not kill herself before confronting any of the people? Had she done that, this would have been a much more open and shut case. Of course, then that wouldn't have been much of a video game either.
At that point, someone grabbed the bottle and snuck it out of the room. And that was you, wasn't it, Hina? You did it to throw off the investigation, didn't you? When we found her body, you stayed right there near the door.
So, yeah, this was a scene we saw before. If you look at Makoto's hair, it's actually pointing to the left in this scene, and then it kind of points to the right every time in the regular animation style. Should also look at the emblem on his vest and see if it's always on the right.
Because you already knew Sakura was dead. And because the bottle of poison had rolled near the doorway.
Ah.
That's when you picked up the bottle, right? I was too shocked to notice anything, and Kyoko was busy checking the body.
But see, this also would have been the point where Toko would have had to sneak into the room.
And the more I think about it, the more I realize how unusual your actions were.
I have to go get them. I have to go get the others. On shaky legs, Hina left the rec room.
You said you were going to go get everyone else. But your real intention was to go to the chem lab and switch out the containers, wasn't it?
Apparently, okay, that would have been when she would have done it.
Once you were at the chem lab, you headed straight to the section where the protein powder was kept. There, you took the powder and poured it into the bottle of poison you'd grabbed from the rec room. When you left the lab, all you had was the empty protein can.
Which I guess the lab had protein cans also.
Thinking about it like that, the footprints make perfect sense.
When you were done, you gathered everyone together. And once you were back in the rec room...
See, yeah, if you look at his hair now, it is definitely pointing to the right, but the symbol on his vest is also on the right. So those custom animations clearly were very brief descriptions without any, like, even default sketch to follow as far as what the characters were supposed to look like. It's just bad communication between different animation teams. I got everyone. Ogre. So it was Genocide Jill. So she's dead, huh? So the question, I guess, is how did Genocide Jill manage to escape the room and then be found by Hina? I guess Genocide Jill just kind of ran around her and ran downstairs while Hina ran upstairs. Sakura's been killed, I see. Hina never said who or where she found any of the people.
Honestly, I should have noticed. You should have been the first one to run up to Sakura's lifeless body.
Yeah, I guess that was
The Hina
weird.
I know never would have left her side in a situation like that.
Yeah, that is true too. ...
Sakura committed suicide.
And this probably kills any implied lesbian relationship that may or may not have existed in the Japanese version of this story between Sakura and Hina.
In order to hide this fact, Hina undertook a series of actions to undermine the investigation.
How shaming is it, I guess would be the question, is suicide in a Japanese culture? Arguably, I'd say not really much more than any other culture. If anything, I would say Judeo-Christian Christianity overemphasizes shame for suicide, and in Catholicism, and definitely particular shames suicide, but in Japanese culture, suicide happens quite a lot. And hiding that fact being done by friends and family maybe happens a little bit more than I would think, but it doesn't get hidden that much.
As long as you could disguise the truth, you didn't care if we blamed you for her death.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't bother to get rid of such obvious evidence, right?
So is this a case where Hina wants to die too, or is this a case where she didn't want to bring shame upon Sakura?
The footprints in the powder and the bottle of poison, vital pieces of evidence.
Maybe a
And
little
yet,
both.
So you're saying Hina consciously deceived us to make it look like she killed Sakura?
Dot dot dot.
No! No! I killed her! I did it!
That's enough, Hina. It's over.
It's not! Nothing's over!
It is. Actually, no. You're right. We have to end this properly.
So we're gonna vote. So, closing argument. Alright. We have 20 minutes. Sakura wanted to talk to Hirotoko and one other person, which that would have been Byakuya. So, we know that. Toko went to the rec room early and hid somewhere, which we know that's probably that one. If not, it's that one. There's like nothing in the first part of Act 3 at all. What was in the Monokuma bundle that hit her? Would have been the Jack. And or probably that one. What did Hiro try to do to cover up the murder he thought he committed? He wrote the name Toko. At this point, Toko, who was in the locker, peered out. What did she do with the magazine? She put it in upside down. And then, what was in the Monokuma bottle that Genocide Jack struck Sakura with? That was a queen, and the queen piece, who knows where that went. She just ran away, I guess, at that point, so she wasn't in the room at that point. So even then, Sakura was still alive. Well, actually, killed Sakura. Came from the chem lab. So is it chemical C? How are these different ones? She doesn't have blood on her hand in one of those. And they came in here, and that's when they found her. Something on the floor next to the body, which someone grabbed. Which I think at that point that's supposed to be this. Well, was it they switched the bottle of poison and left on the rec room floor? The protein shaker. Yeah, we still have some things here that easily could have been different. So we'll see if the reenactment works. I guess we may not even get a grayed out killer in this point. I guess I have to hit A.
Specifically, those people were Hiro, Toko, and Byakuya.
And they didn't even get into the explanation as to why.
But one of them headed out a bit earlier than the others. Toko. She got there one step ahead of everyone else and looked around for a good hiding spot.
I kind of like the way Toko is animated here more than even in the main game. I could almost understand if they went a little bit cheaper and had these kinds of animations throughout the entirety of the game. But then the whole game would almost become a motion comic more than even a visual novel. And the idea of having less animation than a visual novel is pretty crazy.
From inside the locker, she saw Sakura enter the room.
Sakura being drawn pretty big and nasty looking.
Next to arrive was Hiro. When he got there, he mistakenly thought Sakura was going to try to kill him, so he panicked.
This is just like an entire action
He
scene.
grabbed a nearby Monokuma bottle and attacked Sakura with it. Thinking he'd killed her, he hastily began covering up his crime.
There definitely is a case here where at least two of the people are not really innocent, and we kind of run into this problem where none of the characters are purely innocent at all. They've all Byakuya, Yashihiro, and Toko and Genocide Jill all seem to be pretty bad guys, and if that is the idea that this is some kind of purgatory or hell in which the characters are supposed to be suffering, it almost seems justified. Makoto maybe has been mostly innocent. I don't think he's done anything terrible so far.
To that end, he wrote down a name. Toko. By writing her name, he was hoping to pin the murder on her. But of course, Toko had witnessed the whole thing. So as soon as the coast was clear, she jumped out of the locker and hid the magazine on the shelf with all the others.
Although she also did kind of a bad job.
But in her rush, she made
I
one
guess
little mistake.
the idea is there's literally only one magazine deep on the magazine shelf. Otherwise, it would have been fairly easy to put a magazine behind another magazine.
She put the magazine back upside down.
And if it wasn't upside down, it would have never
She
been
watched
found.
as Sakura slowly opened her eyes. She also saw the blood dripping off Sakura's head and fainted. This caused her personality to switch back over to Genocide Jack. When she woke back up, her second personality also saw the blood-soaked Sakura, and she freaked out. And just like Hiro, she grabbed another Monokuma bottle and attacked her.
This has definitely been a long
This
case.
explains why there were 2 wounds on Sakura's head.
Really, really long case.
Assuming Sakura really was dead this time, she set about disposing of the evidence.
And she must have had to have taken some time doing that.
She gathered up the broken Monokuma bottle shards and the queen chess piece.
Where she got the dust bin, I don't know.
And that explains how Sakura was attacked twice with the same type of weapon. But even after those 2 blows, she was still alive.
This one could be wrong.
So then, what was Sakura's actual cause of death?
No, it didn't lay out my reasoning. I need to rearrange the events of this case. Alright, so if it's not that one, then it's gotta be this one. Which, then, what was the prompt here? Something in the floor which someone grabbed. So this is the indication someone hid it.
Here's exactly what happened. And that explains how Sakura was attacked twice.
Yeah,
Even
pretty
after
much
those
the
2
exact same
blows, she was
icons.
still alive. So then, what was Sakura's actual
There needed
cause
to
of
be a
death?
way to either hover over the hints or have the icons be very distinctly different, and they seem to put basically no thought into that at all.
It was the poison that Sakura herself got from the chem lab. She turned the rec room into a true locked room scenario, and then drank the deadly mixture. And there, she took her final breath.
And in a funny way,
The rest of us discovered that her body was in there.
Monokuma wanted her as a spy to kill one of the students, and she did kill one of the students. She killed herself.
He had to smash the door's window to get inside. But someone already knew what had happened. Knew
And
that
finally
she had
we see
committed suicide.
the grayed out person. Like, we really didn't even need that, though. We know it's Hina.
And that same someone quietly snatched the bottle of poison from off the ground. And while nobody was looking, replaced it with an empty protein can. They did all this specifically to place all the suspicion on themselves, in an attempt to guide the trial to a false conclusion.
Which I guess Monokuma also does not really care about attempted murders. He only cares about murders. He doesn't seem to really care about any other crimes other than violating the rules. And any punishment for violating the rules is just death immediately.
And the one who went to all that effort.
There it was Hina.
Was you, Hina.
Just like almost like a paper clip as a hairband.
That's the
Hair
full
clip.
truth of the case.
Now she's crying, which is weird because that means we had that voice file of her crying this whole time, and we could have been using it a lot more.
Sakura took her own life. And you claim to be the killer to hide that fact. Isn't that right?
That's what happened?
Byakuya totally doesn't understand this at all because he's basically a sociopath and doesn't understand human emotion.
But Makoto, how did you manage to... How were you able to uncover the truth that even I couldn't discern?
Huh? Oh, well, I mean...
You still haven't realized? We don't all act according to calculations and cost-benefit diagrams. That's what makes us so complicated. That's what you don't understand. And that's why you couldn't solve this case. See? Didn't I tell you? When you dismiss other people's feelings, it'll always come back to bite you in the end.
Yeah, she said that like 5 to 6 hours ago. ... A, A, B, A, A, B, A, A, A. We still have yet to see any S points. So if you can get S's, you'd have to either do it perfectly on the first try, very, very fast, speeding everything up, or you'd have to have some kind of ability. It gave me 1,160 points, which I think gives me probably somewhere between 80 and 90 Monokuma tokens. 93.
Okay. I think we can all agree you made your point.
And that's right when I got an achievement. The Steam overlay somehow got re-enabled in my computer's rebooting at some point. That's fine, it doesn't get recorded.
Did you guys forget already? You still haven't voted yet.
Now what would be really weird is if they somehow, if Monokuma could somehow resurrect the dead Sakura and murder her again, because that would definitely then reveal something amazing about the nature of this world and the nature of this universe.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You seriously forgot?
Or maybe this is just a case of Monokuma
I can feel my energy.
wants you to
draining
vote
out
just
of
in
me.
case people vote wrong.
Well, whatever. You don't really really have a choice anyway. You just gotta do it. Maybe you don't want to, but please grab your lever and cast your vote. So, who will be chosen as the blackened? Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
There could be an interesting argument that it still was genocide Jill, that the blackened is defined as the person who last raised their hand against someone before they died. But they don't even bother to deal with that. I think they kind of had already dealt with that in the previous level anyways. And it almost kind of sucks that we're not going to get to see we're not going to get to see a execution. Yeah, that's right. The one who killed Sakura was Sakura herself.
My entire existence!
Okay, we're done here.
What did you say?
So that's the whole truth, huh? I see. But there's still one thing I don't understand.
Come on.
Hina, why did you try to cover up what happened? If the truth hadn't come to light, you would have died along with the rest of
What are
us.
you thinking?
And yet why did you do that?
Don't be mean.
Yeah, we almost died there.
What is this?
Because that's exactly what I wanted. What? I mean, the reason Sakura died is because all of you pushed her into a corner. You all killed her. So that's why.
You should have been the one to die!
I couldn't let her be the only one that died.
What?
You don't mean you're gonna take us all with you? We have to atone for our sins. Because everyone, even me, we all killed her. We all have to pay for our crimes. For serious, that's...
What is this?
You still don't understand, then let me explain. Do you realize just how much despair Sakura was carrying with her when she died? The whole concept of despair in this game has kind of been forgotten for many, many hours. Look at this. Such brutality has made me desperate. So instead of just waiting to be killed, I'll do it by my own hand. I found it on the ground in front of the rec room. It's Sakura's suicide note. Suicide note. Thinking back, I should have seen it coming. It was right after Genocide Jack had attacked me. Sakura got mad and stormed out of the nurse's office. I ran out after her and... Sakura, calm down. You don't have to worry about me. I'm fine. I can't calm down. I don't care if I suffer for this. It's my fault after all. But now you're suffering because of me.
No forgiveness.
You tried to protect me, but because of me, my closest friend got hurt. Sakura, because of me, my friends are all going to kill each other. This is all my responsibility. Sakura thought she was responsible. She thought everything was her fault. This really feels like dialogue, by the way, that should have been voiced. Which is why she wanted to find some way to get everyone to forgive her. So she asked to meet with them. You asked to meet with those three? You can't. Don't you see how dangerous that is? Don't worry. I just want to talk to them. Talk about what? ... Listen, don't do it. If they all gang up on you at once, even you. Hina, please, don't think of things like that. They're not my enemy.
Friends.
They're friends. Sakura. And then once again, they're using the phrase friends very loosely and pretty inappropriately at this point. She clearly believed in all of us. If you had just talked to her, you would have understood. She was a friend to all of us. And yet. You trampled all over her feelings, and then you did the unthinkable. No, that was just a misunderstanding. Don't stand there and call it a misunderstanding. She believed in you, and you wouldn't even listen to what she had to say. Without asking a single question, you tried to kill her. Do you have any idea how desperate she was seeing you act like that? That's what her suicide note means. So instead of just waiting to be killed, I'll do it by my own hand. That's how far you pushed her. Sakura, what happened to you? Hina, you came. I thought she was going to voice the rest of the line, but obviously not. Wait right here, I'll help you out. Hina. Huh? I'm so glad I got to meet you. What's wrong, Sakura? Why are you talking like that? I have a favor to ask. A favor?
Some protein.
Would like some protein. Here we have like half-voiced dialogue only for Sakura, not for Hina. Could I ask you to... Yeah, you got it. Just hang on. I'll be right back. That was the last conversation I had with her. I went to the chem lab to get protein she asked for, and when I got there, I saw the powder. And that's when I realized. I saw that someone had taken something from the poison shelf, Sakura, so I ran back into the rec room as fast as I could. But by the time I got there, it was already too late. So at that point, she didn't go to shelf A, because she wouldn't have had the poison. So she basically ran to the chem lab once, then went to the chem lab a second time later. And I am wearing out my voice at this rate. Sakura,
Please.
let me in. Please open the door. ... Why? Why? Why did she have to die? I assume she got hit by Toko either before Hina showed up the first time or in between that whole scene. And I'm not sure the story is even equally explaining either answer. She had weakness, just like any other person. If she got cut, she bled. If someone hurt her, she felt it. That's weakness. That's normal. And yet,
Why?
you all blamed her. I tried to protect her, and I suffered for it. And that just added to the weight she had to carry. And I didn't even realize it. Hina, says Makoto. We killed her. All of us. We pushed her into a corner, and we murdered her. People like us shouldn't be allowed to live. That's why you tried to lead us astray. You did our best to make us arrive at the wrong conclusion during the class trial. Sakura died hating all of us. I wanted to free her of her regrets. But even if that got found out, in the end I wasn't able to do anything for her. I could never face her after this.
Hey!
Now Monokuma is gonna interrupt, probably to reveal something even worse. I'm sorry to interrupt right when you're about to deliver the final tearjerker, but it's just taking so long. It's kind of ridiculous for Monokuma to point out how long this game is at points, considering how they wrote it that long. I'm about to fall asleep over here. I mean, do you really think that you have any idea what Sakura was actually thinking when she died?
What is this?
What did you say? Everything you said is nothing but your interpretation, right? Your own opinion on what her suicide note meant.
What are you saying?
Of course I know what she was thinking, because her and me...
In other words,
Well, what I'm really trying to say is...
yes indeed.
Don't you think the entire foundation is shaky? What if it was really like this? Last Testament Sakura Ogami?
What the heck?
What is that?
Of course.
Isn't it obvious?
Yep.
A suicide note. Sakura's suicide note. What? But Hina already. I wrote that one. It was all me, baby.
It's true.
This is the one Sakura addressed to Hina and put in her room. What then? You lied to me? Oh, don't say lie, and it makes it sound so dirty. I just thought I'd liven things up a bit.
Well now.
I can't help if you totally took my little scribbles at face value. I didn't even have Sakura's signature on it. You filthy little... I'm not filthy. I didn't do anything. Did I falsify evidence? Did I affect the outcome of the class trial? The case played out between you and you alone. You were the ones jerking each other around. Heck, even if the will had factored in, it still would have been between you guys. So what's the problem? This is all part of the production process. Okay, and scene, cut.
And?
So then, what did she write in her real suicide note?
What are you gonna do?
I'm glad you asked. For your benefit, I shall read it using my melodic, angelic, harmonic narrator voice.
Hey!
But you know, haven't you ever been curious about the whole suicide note thing? Who came up with the idea of leaving a note when you kill yourself in the first place?
Hold on.
And isn't it just so unfortunate? Killing yourself is just so final, you know? You can never hear the rest of their story. The truth is lost in darkness. Gives me the willies.
Enough already.
Could you get on with it, please?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, geez. Talk about a buzzkill. Alright, here we go. Ahem. My good friend Hina, there's something I have to tell you. I hate to do it like this, but you need to know. This is my final wish.
As you know, I've been giving information to the one who's imprisoned you here.
So now we're gonna get more voiced acting, which is nice. Nope. Apparently we're only gonna get one line of voice acting, and then the rest of it I'm gonna have to read out loud. I guess this is her room, and she has like workout logs to punch and kick all around her room. It was our first night in this strange school that the mastermind came to see me.
The mastermind took control of my family's dojo and demanded I become their tool.
Now, was this before or after the DVDs? I guess this was before the DVDs. You might not see the importance of a dojo, but my family has watched over it for over 300 years.
I couldn't let it be destroyed under my watch. So even if it meant my own life, I had to protect it.
This is weird. It's toggling between one line of read out dialogue and one line of not read out dialogue.
That's how I saw things.
However, this was my greatest weakness. And because of that, I made the mistake of giving in to the mastermind. Now, I don't think this is to imply that she actually saw the mastermind face to face. Maybe that she saw the mastermind wearing a mask or something. But I assume she's really just talking about Monokuma communicating to her. Which we assume there is a mastermind controlling Monokuma. Or working with Monokuma. This scene in particular really does highlight that they must have run out of some budget at some point here. Otherwise, there's just no justification for half-voiced scenes.
And what the mastermind wanted from me was nothing less than murder.
They were probably worried that until the first murder had happened, nothing would move forward. But with what neither the mastermind nor I expected was the incident involving Sayaka. At that point, the plan changed. The mastermind told me to hold off, to wait until we reached another stalemate.
However, as I lived here with all of you, as I lived here with Hina, my resolve began to weaken.
Watching everyone fight with such despair, trying so desperately to stay alive, I saw the weakness in my own heart, the mistake of succumbing to the mastermind, and more than anything...
I cannot betray those who would call me their friend.
Okay. That's how I came to feel. So that's why Sakura...
I've made a decision. I will no longer retreat, no longer compromise, no longer regret.
Yeah, I've kind of forgotten about the weird visual effects they also experimented with.
I've made my decision.
Yeah, it would be pretty hard as a game critic to ever point out any specific game and say, actually, just make a whole bunch of experiments as far as visual effects or gameplay mechanics, and your game will be better, even if those visual effects or gameplay mechanics don't actually work or make any sense in a game. It's really hard to find very obvious and specific places where a game should have had added content but didn't. where it is a lot easier to criticize what you do see right in front of your face than what was added. And so when I see the twirling visuals here, and I compare that directly to the fact that there are lines of dialogue not voiced, clearly you would have wanted to have done a budgetary decision and say don't do the swirling visuals and save up that money for one more day of voice acting.
I'm going to resist you.
Of course, because of that, I decided to reveal her secret, which made everyone else hate her. Her decision to stay true to all of you led directly to all of you hating her for it. Ironic, isn't it? Or maybe oxymoronic, or just moronic.
Of course, I understand if you all hate me. All of this is because of my own weakness.
A lot of the characters certainly have died in the past because of their own weakness, which maybe is supposed to be a running theme. I'm perfectly willing to accept whatever attack you may want to make on me.
So this is my atonement for betraying you. That's what I had in mind.
But unfortunately, that's not enough. This won't end with just me accepting your hatred.
My own situation has started having an effect on more people than just me.
Right. So this was a scene pretty much after Monokuma exposed her.
Which is exactly what the mastermind wanted when they revealed my betrayal.
My betrayal brought suspicion, disharmony. The mastermind knew that eventually it would escalate into someone murdering someone else.
Of course, I'm still responsible for that as well.
I have an obligation to get this situation under control, and to fulfill that obligation I've decided to do as the mastermind has commanded. I will do as I was told and commit murder.
I've decided the one I'm going to kill is myself.
So instead of just trying to fight Monokuma or the mastermind herself, which going down fighting may have worked better, if the mastermind demands that I kill someone, then that someone will be me. Then my dojo will be safe, and above all else, none of you will have to kill anyone. When I die, the source of conflict amongst you all dies with me. For that, I'm willing to give up my life.
If it can save you, then sacrificing my own life could have no greater meaning. Whatever you think of me, please know that you are all my most treasured friends.
I've never had people like you in my life. Then Sakura didn't feel cornered. She didn't die hating us. She wanted to stop us from fighting, to protect us.
Correct.
She didn't end her own life because she was weak. Quite the opposite, in fact. She was strong, too strong. That's why she killed herself. She chose death for herself in order to protect the rest of us. To sacrifice so much, no normal person could do that.
However,
It was only her limitless strength that made it possible. Again, this really kind of highlights Sakura's mental and spiritual strength more than her physical strength. ...
Finally, Hina, I want to apologize to you especially.
Reason I didn't tell you any of this is because I knew you would try to stop me. I'm really, truly sorry. Please don't be sad. If I can thwart the mastermind's plan, if I can keep you from killing each other, that's enough for me. There is another argument, because this was a PSP game, that the voice acting stopped at in this scene because they ran out of space. But if that was the case, well, then they should have known that was coming and just not have voiced this scene in the first place. This is the path that I have chosen. This is the only way I have left to distinguish myself. And you can use this note to bring the class trial to a quick end. I'm so sorry to ask you to do something so unpleasant, but I have to leave the rest of you. Please talk to Byakuya, Toko, and Hiro on my behalf. I can't tell anyone about my plan while I'm alive, but I want you to understand why I'm doing this. In the end, though, I hope to show myself through actions and not words. Hopefully then they'll see.
I never saw you as my enemy. You were only ever my friend, who I wanted to help as much as possible.
Yeah. If this was a space issue and you just left all of these lines of dialogue on the cutting room floor, you would have saved at most 10, maybe 20 megabytes of audio files, MP3 style files. Not any massive amount of savings that would make a PSP disc feel like it was too empty by any means.
Hina, whatever it takes, survive. Survive along with everyone else.
Suppose what could have happened here is, I think in Japan the voice acting is done after the animation is done. Certainly dubbing Japanese anime in the West, the animation is completely done. So maybe they just ran out of time for the voice actors to actually deliver on a specific date, and that's the reason. No, if anything, I imagine it might be sometimes the opposite, where the voice acting is done first and all they're seeing is potentially pencil sketches, if anything. I don't know how that would really go in a game in particular.
No matter what, just survive.
Let's just hurry this up. This is just going really, really long. Just want to get to the next chapter. I don't understand how she felt. I didn't understand how she felt. Not at all. I thought we were close, and still.
What are you gonna do?
But in the end, all her meddling was like totally pointless. She died so you guys wouldn't try to kill each other, but you almost ended up doing it anyway. Thanks to you, her death had no purpose at all. In fact, it was because of her stupid meddling that the rest of you nearly bit the big one.
Too bad.
She deserves all the blame. Everyone blame her. Go ahead, she deserves it. Phew. Now then, the next victim has been decided. What do you mean, next victim? Nobody here blames anyone.
Huh?
First of all, you're in the wrong for tricking Hina with a fake suicide note. And plus, Sakura's death wasn't a waste. Because she made us remember. We're not enemies that hate each other. We're friends who need to work together.
You know?
Damn straight. This is all because of our misplaced hatred.
Well,
I don't blame her, I can't blame her, and nobody can blame Hina either. Boo-hoo. Well, whether or not there was a spy never really mattered, because the one we need to destroy is you, nobody else.
What do you
What the heck? That's not how this is supposed to go. But anyway, are you sure about that? This killing game is a competition between all of you, remember? Your enemy is each other. He's absolutely right about that. Oh, lovely Byakuya. You understand, don't you? This is a life or death elimination. The only way to survive is to win. There can be no doubt that those are the rules of this game. Which is why I am bowing out of the game. Huh?
Naturally.
Sakura and Hina were both willing to sacrifice their own lives to deny the reality of the game. Thanks to them, it would appear the others have cast aside their fear for this game.
Don't make me repeat.
There's no point in participating in a game in which has lost that sense of excitement, which is why I will no longer be participating in it. What's going on here? Now, I have only one thing to look forward to,
It's all clear.
and that is to heap the harshest possible punishment onto the one who thinks they can control me. Byakuya, does that mean? Don't misunderstand. I haven't been moved by some thoughtless sentimentalism, if that's what you're thinking. Wherever master goes, I go. And if the mastermind turns out to be a guy, maybe I can catch on fire. Everyone.
Hey,
Well now, can you say that Sakura's death had no meaning? How boring. But nothing good can come of this. I'm still gonna be the one having the fun time.
what the heck?
The fun time? Anyway, let's forget about the good-for-nothing backstabber and get back on track.
You want me to punish you guys.
It's the moment you've been waiting for. Punishment time.
What?
What? But Sakura was technically the killer, right? And she's dead. You're not going to...
But
Is it me?
Wrong.
Oh heavens no, just because the blackened is dead doesn't mean I can just sub in whatever old student I want. Didn't I tell you? I'm very particular about the bear ×1 rule.
Listen up.
But I spent so much time preparing my special punishment, it'd be a shame to let it go to waste. So for my special punishment, I've prepared a special guest. Interesting. A special guest? Well, also Monokuma knew Sakura had killed herself, so there was no reason for him to spend any time on the punishment in the first place.
Let's give it everything we've got. It's punishment time.
Oh no, it's alter ego. So Monokuma found alter ego. And he's got a machine. What are those called? I forget. Crane? Yes, that's what it is. Excavator destroyer. So really this was just an excuse. I don't think excavators work that way. It was really just an excuse to destroy alter ego. You put a Monokuma face on it. So much for our secret weapon. You suck, man. You turned him into a mangled hunk of junk. Phew, that really took it out of me. Maybe I'll go grill up a plate of chicken. After all, they say for a post-workout grub, chicken's where it's at. And I'm all about that grilled goodness. Fried, broiled, give me a break. The color, the smell, the succulence. Grilled is where it's at. I wonder if that's going to be some bit of information that's important at the very end of the game, that you would have had to pay attention to Monokuma throughout the entire game to get any tiny little bit of evidence about him. I realize how dangerous it could be, but still I have to do this. I'm scared, but I can handle it. I don't really understand why, but when I think about everyone else, my courage starts to grow. You might think it's just some inhuman AI, but it's true. So it's okay. If it's for the sake of everyone else, I won't be afraid. If I could read half of these sentences correctly. Alter egos raced through my heart and soul, and my disbelief gave way to raw anger. The anger turned to fury, black and muddy and boiling over. It bubbled up through my body, quickly overflowing and shooting out of my mouth. How dare you? That was my friend. How dare you kill him?
What's the matter?
Huh? You were friends with a laptop? That's pretty pathetic. What's next? Friends with a basketball? Shut the hell up. That's the first time we've cussed in probably 3 or 4 hours. Minimum. It wasn't just a laptop. He was my friend. And you killed him. Is that what you call animism? Where the soul dwells within all things, even like laptops? Well, you can call it whatever you want. Bottom line, it got in my way. It was trying to find things out all sneaky.
Just as I thought.
So you finally noticed him.
Actually,
Finally. No. I knew about it from the very beginning. I knew Chihiro was doing something with the laptop, and I knew you were using it to analyze data. I knew exactly how it was all going to play out from the start. What?
What are you thinking?
You knew, and you were still cocky enough to let us take the plunge?
yep.
Well, I mean, the data in that laptop, it was, I guess you could call it a gift from me to you. Or maybe more like a reward in honor of you being able to unlock something so difficult.
Hey,
So of course I didn't care if you got access to that. But sneaking into the network was just too personal. So I had to do a little, reformatting. I want to keep being helpful to everyone. This pretty much wraps up Alter Ego's involvement in the story. And Without Alter Ego, Chihiro's involvement in the story would have been basically nothing. I want to work as hard as everyone else so that they can all get out of here. Alter Ego wanted to fight for us. He wanted to help, at the risk of his own life. And for that, he was killed. Phew. Yeah, the punishment time has made me feel a billion times better. Experiencing a meaningless death is so soothing. It makes me remember that every low can get even lower. No, his death wasn't meaningless either. Everybody who's died so far, the deaths of each and every one of our friends, they all make us stronger. I swear to God, someday you will pay for this. Holy moly, you're super mad, like just unreasonably upset. Okay, time to bring things to a close. Oh, but before that, I need to read the postscript.
What?
Postscript?
Yep.
Yep, there's still a little bit more left on Sakura's note. Huh? Good. Do I have your attention? Okay, then here we go. Prepare your ears for the dulcet tones of yours truly. One more thing, Hina. There's something I'd like you to tell the others. Hopefully it will act as a clue to help you unravel the mystery of this school. What? A clue?
Hina.
I've spoken with the mastermind off and on this whole time I've been here, and so I've learned one thing, which is the mastermind has done something to us. So everybody, I think what they've done is, oopsie daisy, that was another close word, and we would have been hip deep in spoiler territory.
Too bad.
Okay, I don't want to ruin the surprise, so book club is dismissed for today. What, you just can't stop at the most important bit? It makes your brain rumble and tumble, huh? Makes you so mad that you don't even friggin' know, huh? That's the whole point, stupid. It's to get back at all of you for hardening your resolve. Fine. But at least Sakura's note. Like I'd never let any of you greaseballs have it. But, hee hee, sucks for you, loser. Wait, what's this?
What?
What is it now? It's one last line in the note. And let me just say this to the mastermind. I'm not just gonna lay down and die. I will fight you, you bastard, no matter what. And that's seriously it. Oh wow, what a stubborn loser, huh? She won't lay down and die, she'll fight you? Well, whatever. Who cares what some dead musclehead has to say? Okay, I'm out of here. You guys should try and get some rest, you know? Maybe take some time to reconsider how you approach your school life of yours. Are you sure you don't want to graduate? Can you really cut free from your regrets of the outside world, which we'd kind of forgotten that as an option? You think about it. Think long, think hard. Those were his parting words to us before disappearing. But what was that all about? Sakura's final message, her last clue to help us solve the mystery of the school. The mastermind did something to us. Kyoko had said something like that, didn't she? It was after Celeste's trial was over.
You.
What did you do? What did you do to my body?
Ooh.
What?
Hey.
Answer me, what did you do to my body? The mastermind did something to our bodies. What are they saying the mastermind did? What did the mastermind do to us? I mean, did the mastermind plant a bomb in us or something? And if we try to leave the school, a sensor goes off and the bomb explodes? I've seen stuff like that in movies and comics and stuff, so it's not totally unheard of. No, I feel awful just thinking about it. I can't afford to acknowledge thoughts like that.
Yo!
So the class trial is over and Monokuma's gone. So now, what do we do?
Yes.
What else is there to do other than head back up? Oh yeah, let's get out of here. But I Hina must still feel responsible. Dial back that ego a bit, girl. The kind of mystery someone like you could pose is absolutely no
Not
threat.
possible.
I would never have lost to that kind of challenge. What are you talking about? Kyoko and Makoto are the ones who figured everything out.
Stop talking.
Shut up. Dot dot dot. Seriously, I'm sorry. How many times do you plan on apologizing? How about you make that the last one? I haven't reached a point where I need someone apologizing to me more than once.
Sorry.
Okay, I see what you mean. Then I'll try. Huh? That totally wasn't normal, right? Did she just capture his flag?
No, 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 no!
Now Genocide Jill is afraid that Hina is potentially going to be a romantic competitor to her. I can't suffer the existence of someone who would disturb the romance between me and Master. What are you talking about? That's absolutely not what's happening here. Why would I ever go for a sleazeball like him?
What did you say?
Sleazeball? So they're immediately fighting again.
What the heck?
That's right, I called you a sleazeball because you are a sleazeball. Apparently you still have a death wish. Oh, more biting sarcasm. No wonder you don't have any friends.
No, 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 no!
Hey, stop fighting with Master, you're making me jealous. I want the abuse give and take. Me. I guess it's not so easy for everyone to act like friends. Well, that's just how it is for now. And so Sakura's class trial came to the end, and we returned to the world of Hope's Peak Academy. But the story wasn't even come to close to over. Again, all these stories do seem to be being told from a future point. Time kept marching on. We all went back to rooms, and before long, night snuck up on us. Can we ding dong bing bong at this point? Let's see. Let's go a little further, so we don't just go through the boring ding dong bing bong
This is a school announcement.
at the beginning of the next
It is
episode.
now 10 p.m. As such, soon the doors to the dining hall. Okay then. Sweet dreams, every.
I assume we're not gonna get a Monokuma theater. Nighttime descended and pulled me down along with it, down into sleep. I couldn't remember the last time I'd fallen into such a deep sleep. But the night still wasn't over for me. A voice. I could hear a voice. Wake up. Dot dot dot. Wake up, huh? A voice dragging me from my deep slumber into a hazy half-consciousness. My eyelids were like lead. Okay, so now we are fairly close to the point where I stopped watching Game Grumps. And so this is also, I think, a fairly good point to wrap up this episode. Like, if the next puzzle has like 25 truth bullets, that's gonna kind of suck. We have 104 Monokuma tokens, and that pretty much means that we probably won't have 999 Monokuma tokens if we needed them all at the same time. And I imagine we still want to just try and get all the presents. As far as report cards go, with Sakura being eliminated, we now have a much one smaller list of people we can hang out with, and generally we're just trying to get SP increases unless they want to give us perhaps a skill that is better than the skills we have. There would be potentially an argument to go and try and hang out with Toko to get a better version of her skill, because I believe her skill does help in the rhythm battles. Maybe even it's just a cheaper version of the skills, who knows. Otherwise we'll just kind of go in circles. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.